Football is almost upon us, but for now, it's rumors and storylines. Who could be on the roster this season, who isn't currently, and who spoke up about not getting his shot in KC? This is Gridiron Gambit.
Welcome, Chiefs Kingdom. Thanks for tuning in to this Red Kingdom media production, bringing you raw, authentic Chiefs coverage. Make sure to like and subscribe to stay up to date on your team. Now sit back and enjoy the show.
Let's work. Hey.
Welcome to this week's edition of Gridiron Gambit. I am your host for tonight's festivities, Clinton, and joined with me as always are my two pals, Dale and Lonnie. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Going
All
good,
right.
man.
Yeah, no doubt. So, like I said in the intro, we got some stuff to talk about. Obviously, we're very close to the season being underway, or at least the training camps being around and sniffing the preseason. And I looked at the calendar the last week or a couple days ago, and I'm like, my goodness, we're 2 months away from the first game of the regular season here in Arrowhead Stadium for the season opener on Thursday night. That's crazy. It was just, a couple weeks ago, and all of a sudden we were winning the Super Bowl, and now all of a sudden we're trying to get that three-peat. So time flies when you're winning. And thank you all for tuning into this episode. And we can't wait to be with y'all and talk with you. We have as return of Juju. So rumors are circulating that New England Patriots wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster will be released and could be returning to Kansas City. So is there a spot for him, and would he be welcome into the fold?
Yes. So I will welcome Juju back. I would accept him. I think he's a solid pickup. He had very solid production on third down as a Chief. And I think he will be great supplemented for the time that we won't have Rashee Rice. So I think that it will be a great pickup, and I definitely would accept him back.
Frankly, I just don't see a spot for Juju here. In the previous episode of our show, honestly, I talked about the wide receivers that the Chiefs have on their roster currently and how, unfortunately, little of an impact they truly made on the season, and the hype that went around that group and what we had in terms of expectations and how much we fell short of those expectations because of the wide receivers that we did carry. So I just don't see a spot for Juju. I wouldn't be upset by it, but frankly, from my perspective, I just don't see the fit anymore. And the fact that he's got some injury concerns and his future is already kind of in doubts in New England, you just kind of feel bad for him because he took the guaranteed money. You wanted him to have that safe haven, of course. But if he had just stayed on the Chiefs roster, he would have been able to stay healthy in some way. The coaching staff would have taken care of him and managed his health arguably better than a lot of teams around the NFL end up doing. But unfortunately, I think Juju's time in Kansas City has come and gone. It sucks. You feel bad for him. You wish he could have been here longer, but you just have to move on, and that's just the nature of the business of the NFL.
Truthfully, I would accept Juju back into Chiefs Kingdom, but I don't really know if there's any room for him on the team. Now, with the additions that we made this offseason, with adding Xavier Worthy in the draft, and then we going back and bringing back McCole Hardman as well, too. And then we also had some guys where we making arguments about if they're going to be on the team or not. It's like, at this point, what purpose does it serve with him actually being on the team? Being able to win a Super Bowl without him as well, too, that next year, and then Rashee Rice coming in and taking over the spot of doing those intermediate and short routes. It's like, at this point, really, do we need you back on the roster? And then and also as well too, there has been rumors and has been speculation that Rashee Rice possibly will be here for the entire season, and then his suspension will actually handle on the next season. So with this going on, I don't think it would be a reason to put ourselves in that predicament of where we are making arguments on what guys that we want on the team, when at this time we're having those same conversations and we have a good amount of people that we can work with as well too, especially with Hollywood Hollywood Brown coming in as well, and he's becoming a veteran wide receiver. So really, I think at this point, with Juju Smith-Schuster, I would love to, really have him. But really, what purpose does it serve for the team if he's going to go out, come in, and then we have the same issues of dealing with the injuries that he dealt with the Patriots as well too? So that's just something for Brett Veach and company to think about. I'm sure if it's a need and they feel like it will be, cost effective for the team to where, okay, we can go ahead and bring in another body, and that's the one we have fill up the room. But at that time, it's just, I think it's a lot of uncertainty. And then I think with the Chiefs Kingdom and the coaching staff, once you're gone and you left, we really don't care about bringing too many guys back. I know we have the excuse for McCole Hardman, but he was at a cheaper cost. He was a guy that Brett Veach brung in. So it's like, okay, come back home. We didn't like the predicament that we was in. Come win another Super Bowl, and that's what he done. And he made the decision this offseason to say, like, you know what? I'm not doing it again. I'm coming back to Kansas City. So you need to choose us first, if anything, if you're going to go ahead and go away, and you have those particular talks in those moments with different teams in the Chiefs organization.
That's a good point, Dale. And I just got to respond to that Mecole Hardman bit, because I think he's just a little bit of a special edge case when it comes to Brett Veach, because he was a draft pick. So he gets a little more leniency when it comes to his future and getting one or more several chances to come to Kansas City, because he got the 1 year prove it deal in New York and didn't get to make the most use out of it. But we all know that, Brett Veach and Andy Reid like the redemption stories. So if you were a good player and you have good character, the Chiefs will want to have you on their team in some capacity. So as much as some people might want Juju and make that comparison to Mecole Hardman, I think to those people, McCole just has a little too close to home when it comes to the front office and how they treat that relationship. Let's move on to our second topic. Do we go with pro or do we go with the young gun? Some rumors are floating around about former All-Pro left tackle David Bakhtari, most known for his time in Green Bay, who was possibly being rumored to the Jets, ironically enough, after I just mentioned Mecole Hardman. And he's possibly a free agent candidate for the Chiefs. And we know the conversations around the left tackle for Chiefs. So we got to pose the question, should the Chiefs go with the pro of David Bakhtari, or do they just go ahead and attempt the rookie projects they have going into training camp? And for me to kick it off, I'm going to say I'm probably the most optimistic for this, because I've stated throughout this offseason that since your left tackle position is not assured, at least for the season, that gives you some concern. It's the most important position on your offensive line. You need the security. And we know that he has, we know that Bakhtari has an injury history. I'm not denying that. But I feel like the Chiefs are as good a team as any to manage injuries and try to keep players in the healthiest state possible. And because neither of the rookies have shown themselves to stand out and outright win the job, it's kind of going back and forth between all the training camp drills that we've seen. I just welcome the challenge. If someone can come in on this team and win the left tackle spot outright, it means that Andy Reid and the coaching staff thought highly enough of that particular player, and Bakhtari in this case, and that he wins the job. And whoever the coaching staff believes is the best player at that position, I think is the best decision the Chiefs can make. And when you're trying to win a Super Bowl for the third straight season, you got to keep Patrick Mahomes healthy. You got to give him somebody on the left side who can be stable and secure and not have the plays break apart. And we've already kind of seen the Wanya Morris project, not for as long as he could, but perhaps the Chiefs have seen enough. They've seen the good and bads, and Kingsley is an outright rookie without any experience whatsoever. So he's also very young, so that also gives some people some concern. So overall, I'd be happy with it because it means the Chiefs are trying to find talent. And normally the Chiefs are very good at finding talent wherever they can find it.
I want to see our guys actually go at it for that position. Well, for that particular spot at left tackle, Wayne Morris and Kingsley. The reason why, just with the youth in general, we saw what Kingsley can do in college, and he was just he was a dog. So if we can have that type of guy over on that side who is an enforcer, who is going to protect Patrick Mahomes, I want to make sure to go in that route and have him for years to come, and then be able to sign that type of guy after that as well too, to a long-term extension. It's nothing wrong with Bakhtari. I don't think he's someone who is like a bad player at all. He's a former All-Pro, and he protected the likes of Aaron Rodgers for those years, and Aaron Rodgers got 2 MVP seasons off of that as well too. So it's not that he's not capable of it, but he does have an injury history as well too. And at his age, at 32, it looks like he might be coming up to 33 as well. That will be an old left side that we have over there with Joe Tooney, who dealt with injury, and we don't know his status going into the beginning of the season. And then also having a left tackle that has that history as well too. Why not just go ahead and have those guys already ready to go battling it out? And then we had picked up some individuals within the undrafted free agent room as well too. I understand that we worried about having the experience over there, but Patrick Mahomes was able to do this for multiple years once he came in as a starting quarterback. He worked with the Eric Fisher that we drafted in 2013, who been here for years to come, and then he dealt with the injury, then he left. Then we brought in Orlando Brown that we traded in 2021, 2022, where he had to we gave away a first round pick. Guess what? He's gone after 2 seasons and only got 1 Super Bowl after him. And then guess what? We come in again with Donovan Smith, a guy who was older, and what happened? And by week 9, he was injured as well too. And then we had to go with Wayne Morris, and then Donovan Smith came towards at the end of the year, at the end of the season, and going to the playoffs and helped out with that. I think in general with the entire Chiefs kingdom, Clayton, I understand your point. Definitely. I really feel where you're coming from, because it's like we want somebody for sure, right? But we want somebody for sure for years to come. So why not go ahead and go with a younger guy that can come in and step in already? Patrick Mahomes will get him up to track. He's already a mobile quarterback anyway. He moves around in the pocket. Patrick Mahomes is one of the quarterbacks that's going to make his tackles look bad, but they're actually playing good. And that's the way he plays, because he has to get out of the pocket. He has to make things happen. He's better under pressure. So let's just go ahead and mold him into what he do already. That way, once we do give him an extension, he's used to this type of play already. So I get it, but I want to see the young guns go at it. I want to see them duke it out and see what they can figure out at that left tackle position.
And I share the same sentiments, just as far as wanting to see the young guns duke it out at that position. I say we stick with Kingsley and Wanye and see if they cannot come out as one of the guys that prevail and take over that left tackle position. You guys know, as I've been talking about on several podcasts before, I am not a fan of patch offensive tackles whatsoever. So to get somebody to come in here and feel the need for the time being, I just think it's not good enough for us as an organization having one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, having the best quarterback in the NFL. So I feel like I think the Chiefs need to find a long-term answer at that position. I think the need may be there for Bakhtiari to come in and kind of be an immediate patchwork. But like Dale referenced before, he referenced three other tackles that are on 3 different teams as of right now, and one of them is not in the league. So I don't like that, and how they're deciding to use the offensive left tackle position, which is one of the most important positions in football. And I think that we need to find a long-term answer.
I see your point. The Chiefs could obviously benefit from having that stalwart at left tackle, but unfortunately, with the nature of the business, the Chiefs have not been able to lock down a player, or at least lock down a player for a long term who they consider to be that player who is worthy of that contract. We saw Juwan Taylor receive his contract, but he's been relegated to the right side where he's been most of his career. There's technically still the option that he could jump over to left tackle if was needed, but it seems like the Chiefs are content with leaving him at his natural position. And obviously, we've already mentioned the name Orlando Brown, and the Chiefs were, willing and able to sign him, but because of his abilities and what they thought of him and needing to give him additional help, they just ended up, bailing out on the deal and thanking him for the service in the years that he was on the team. So the Chiefs could definitely benefit from getting a long-term left tackle, but unfortunately, it doesn't seem like we're going to see that for now, unless we see one of the rookies just outright and flat out win their jobs this offseason. So obviously, in a perfect world, one of those rookies is just the stud that the Chiefs think they are and can take the job. So that's what we're all rooting for. But we know that the NFL, and especially being a left tackle in it, is a tough sell.
And Clinton, to add on to that, to be honest, if we think about the nature of the league as right now as well too, how many players are actually finishing out their contracts? How many players are actually living up to their contracts as well too? So that's why in this case is where I think the Chiefs are looking at it like, hey, we can go ahead and try to say like we went out and try to find a guy for Patrick Mahomes on the left side in free agency that was the top guy. But it's always something a part of that, discovery within that scout work as well too, where it's like, okay, but he's dealing with this and had this issue. Something that happened with Jawan Taylor as well, and a lot of people complain about that contract, but the Chiefs looked up because Brett Beach is a magician and he knows how to work those contracts. You got right guards and left guards that's making more than him, and it's making his contract look like nothing. It's just, hey, it's fully guaranteed you get 20 million a year, and it's just simple as that. 80 million altogether. So it's just how you go about it, how you look at it, what's the importance of it. But I think a lot of us now, we're just ready to find that long-term guy that we have picked up in the draft ourselves and let him work that side and work that magic and be a leader on the offensive line.
Make sure to like and subscribe. Follow us on all our social media platforms at Red Kingdom Media. We are on Spotify. You can rate us 5 stars if you prefer to listen to your podcasts audibly. But for all of you joining us on YouTube, thank you for your support. If you want to see more additional content from us, we make our short form content. That can be found on every platform that accepts those. So whether it's a short, a TikTok, or a reel, we are there. And if you prefer our opinions shorter and more succinct, you go ahead and check out those. And we've got the episode from last week and all the videos that go with that. And stay tuned if you're interested on all the TikToks and shorts that we got to go along with this episode. But also, on top of that, we also have a daily Substack where we post Monday through Friday all of our daily updates to get you all caught up with the NFL and the Chiefs as a whole. And stay tuned, because if you want to become a paid subscriber, all you got to do is give us $5 a month. And that gives you access to premium content. And stay tuned. If you sign up as a paid subscriber, we've got more content coming up in these next couple weeks. And finally, football is on the horizon, which means we're looking ahead to the season we have ahead. Can't wait for this three-peat to commence. But we've got one more topic for the evening, and it's not about the future. It's about the past. Richie James, and unfortunately, he's doing some whining, or at least how I have it put down. Maybe I'm giving him a little more shade than he deserves. But, he stated that favoritism was the reason that he didn't have production here in Kansas City last year. I know he was injured for a little bit, so you have to give him the benefit of the doubt there. But there were opportunities. And he mentioned that the NFL is a business, and Kadarius Toney and Travis Kelce and all the paid wide receivers, and also rookie Rashee Rice being a phenom, they all had to get the higher priority in the pecking order. So we have to question, is his statement valid, and did he possibly intend some ill will with his opinion that he voiced?
So I do think his opinion was valid, but I don't think he had any ill will in his statement as all. This is something that I argued in previous seasons as well too, especially if you're in a group chat that we're in on Facebook and have this conversation, even about the Tyreek Hill trade and everything like that, and even veteran wide receivers coming over to Kansas City. Players tend to not want to come to KC, and it's not that Patrick Mahomes is a bad quarterback. It's not that Andy Reid is a bad head coach, because who doesn't want to be a part of of an organization that's on the horizon of a three-peat, has won 3 championships in the span when Patrick Mahomes has came, and they have been the top of the league ever since he has become the starting quarterback in Kansas City. That's not what it is. When you're playing behind guys like Travis Kelce, and when Tyreek Hill was here, you were a third or fourth option on the team. If you didn't find yourself find a way for you to fit in, you wouldn't fit in at all. And even with the departure of Tyreek Hill as well, Travis Kelce is still that number one guy. And when you have the likes of DeAndre Hopkins that's out there, you have these other guys as well too, who the Stephon Diggs who just got traded, the Gabe Davises who went over to the Jaguars. It would be the perfect place for them to come would be Kansas City. However, they're trying to find ways to make more money within their contracts, and then Kansas City is not a place that gives out a lot of money as well too. We're working within the confines of what we have, and we already have this mega quarterback who's almost to $1 billion. You have your tight end who is the best at his position, who everyone who feels is unpaid, and they now finally got him to the point of being the highest paid. You got Chris Jones in here as well too as a top defensive tackle in the league who has the most money at that position now. It's only so much you can do. So I feel like players like the Juju Smith-Schusters that came over, it was like, yeah, it worked for them because you were this intermediate short guy that we were needing. You were someone who was a possession wide receiver, who was a bigger body, who found his way, and you did well in Pittsburgh as well too, and that was able to translate over. But when you're looking for those top numbers of having 150 plus targets, what you seeing with CeeDee Lamb in the Dallas Cowboys, sorry, you're not getting that as a number one wide receiver in Kansas City, because we do love our tight end Travis Kelce. He has been our guy for us from the forefront. He has been doing it for those many years. So Tyreek, when he was here, and he was drafted here as well too, he found his way. He was able to get those 1,000-yard receiver seasons. That's why he got the big dollars in Miami, because if you can do that under Travis Kelce, and now you exceeding, we see that right here. Yeah, you was worth that. Some of these wide receivers, they're not on that tier of Travis Kelce, so they need to go somewhere where they're going to thirst to throw them the ball. They're thirsty to get them the ball, because you're literally our number one option in a receiving game. Richie James, you wasn't even the number one option in New York. And I think he knows that. But when you're on social media with these bots or these people who like to get on here and troll, you got to defend yourself. And then you have the points in there as well too to help you out, right? You got, oh, well, we can make this a business. They went out, got Kadarius Toney. They hype him up to be the number one wide receiver. You already got Travis Kelce. McCole Hardman come back. He's already familiar with the season. We can blame him for some things, right? But he's putting that all out there to say, hey, it's a reason why I wasn't able to do that much. I didn't do that much in New York. And they, regardless of the wide receivers that we were lacking here now, I mean, still, they had some people that they had in front of me and who they wanted to go with. We still ended up winning the Super Bowl as well, too. So I just think it wasn't any ill will towards it at all. Just one of those moments where you had to defend yourself on social media and, give a slight clap back that may seem like it was something that wasn't meant to be. It looks like it was some shade towards the Kansas City, but really it wasn't too much of it at all.
I could see that, but I think he meant it a little bit more, jabbing, I guess, the best way to say it. He wasn't saying it to defend himself, because I think, frankly, the opportunities were there, because the Chiefs hyped up that we have 7 wide receivers and Richie James was on that list, but he just did not get to make an impact on the field. And the Chiefs and their coaching staff and the front office are very good at finding talent. So they thought that Richie James could be a part of their championship run, but because of the limited action that he received, we got to see the statement that was made that has to make him justify what his output was for the season. Yes, his best season came when he was in New York with Daniel Jones, when arguably who else on the Giants roster is a receiving threat. So he was kind of the main guy if you could argue the Giants had a guy during those seasons. So, you just got to think that he's trying to take a poke at the Chiefs and the front office and say, hey, you guys may have promised me something. Maybe I was supposed to get certain targets or reach certain numbers, and you guys just didn't respond or give me my opportunities. But I think the Chiefs last season, we talked about how inept their wide receiving core was at some points and how thirsty they was for talent, that they brought in Nicole Hardman again after he wasn't on the season to start, because they were desperate. They needed wide receivers. Yes, Rashee Rice balled out. And yes, absolutely, this is Travis Kelce's offense. And for as long as he's on this team, it will be. And that's probably a good thing, especially for every wide receiver that is and joins this team, because they get that extra space. They don't get the extra coverage that a player like Travis Kelce gets, because they know the importance that Travis Kelce has in an offense like this. So, I just think that Richie James, he was desperate to try to prove that his issues weren't all his fault. And you just wish that people were able to accept their responsibility for things and admit that maybe he could have done more. Maybe he could have impressed somebody else to give him those chances, because the Chiefs, they love talent. They'll give anybody an opportunity.
And I don't think it was any ill will in the statements at all whatsoever from Richie James. I actually think he's probably telling the truth. But I also think his production played a factor in him not being able to see the field and not seeing the field to as much to his liking and as much as he wanted to see the field. I think it's just he unfortunately ran into a situation where he got hurt. The rest of that room is younger. We're in a position as a Chiefs organization where we want to get nothing but younger, faster, and quicker at every position. Younger, faster, stronger. And if we have opportunity to do that, such as an injury, such as you going out or not being able to perform due to suspension, whatever that may be, and you find yourself behind the eight ball, oh well, I'm sorry for you. Your position is just kind of gone. So I think this just may be a microcosm of what he experienced this season. And his tweet is, I think, just showing that he didn't like the outcome of how he was treated. But I think, like I said, it's the Chiefs' mantra to get younger, faster, stronger at every position. And I think that's what we did with Richie. Unfortunately, I'm sorry.
And just to put it out there, last thought. If we just go back to the history of the offseason for us as well, too, the players that we try to go after, it seems like we was always in a running, but it always came down to something. They said it wasn't enough money. But in your mentions of what you're saying, like going into free agency, oh, I'm trying to win a championship. Kansas City would be the spot, right? I mean, coming in with the type of talent that you are, being a number one wide receiver, you like that's what Patrick Mahomes wants. He wants a number one guy on the outside as well, too. And he know Travis Kelce's gonna do his work regardless. He's gonna get his targets. That's already established. But just go back to the history and you see the Odells, the DeAndre Hopkins, all of that had a chance and we end up failing. So I don't think he meant anything towards it, but I definitely understand like the sentiment of like you had your chances to go out there and at least prove yourself and move yourself up on the depth chart.
Absolutely. And, you could argue that the Chiefs have a player just like Richie James and cuts from the same cloth, but better, in Hollywood Brown. So the Chiefs have been looking to upgrade this offseason in wide receiver, and I feel like they have. So the players that we talked about today, they had a chance. They possibly could have been if the contract was right or if they had increased their production. But unfortunately, this is a business after all, and you got to perform. So if you didn't perform, you didn't stay on the team for long. You be thankful that you got your rings when you got them, and just hope that you can make an impact on another team and be able to live off that generational wealth that comes with the NFL. And I think we've kind of talked about everything there is. There's lots of rumors, but I know we're all looking forward to actual football and actual contact helmet to helmet on the field and hitting shoulder pads and getting down and dirty and puking in buckets because it's hot in the summertime. And we can't wait to follow you all throughout this off season like we've been doing. And we definitely cannot wait for the season to begin so we can start transitioning our content over to our in-season productions. We can't wait to give it to you, and we are just so excited to be here and talk to you and start getting on with the season and getting ready to hype up this 3-peat chances. So thank you all for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And as always, let's go.
Thanks for checking out this update straight from the heart of Chiefs Kingdom. We appreciate your passion, so please leave a like and follow us wherever you tune in from. See you next tailgate, your trusted source for all things Chiefs, Red Kingdom Media.